Hi, I'm Lisa Bear Culp, and I'm going to show you how to mix Mayco dry stoneware glazes. First of all, the most important part is to have a really good respirator, like mine. I've got HEPA filters. It's a good one. So, anyway, I'm going to try to not talk with my mask on, so I'll do some talking before I put my mask up. The way that we generally tell people to mix them is to add your water first and then your dry mix. And again, these are really general, but remember them. Pint per pound is the way we say to do it. This is going to give you a thick mixture, but I really think it's good to start off with a little bit thick. If you mix them too thin initially, it's difficult to pull water off of them. So you want to try to have a thick mixture and then you can thin it down a little bit. So what I've got here is some fresh, clean water. Really distilled water is the way to go. And I'm just using an empty pint jar as my pint measurer because I know that this was once a pint. And I've got 5 pounds of dry Mayco stoneware glaze, okay? So first I'm going to add the water. There's no need to add bentonite or gum to this if you're planning on dipping. Now this is could be a personal preference thing, but generally people who dip want the glaze to, as it comes up out of the mix, to sheet off a little bit. If you are dipping a version of glaze that has gum in it, like our pint and gallon versions, the liquid glazes for the stoneware, the way those come, they have a good bit of gum in them. They're meant to pull through a brush. Dry glazes are meant to, when you pull them out of the mixture, they should sheet off a little bit. So, and I'll show you that when we actually dip a piece, which we'll do here in a minute. But I just want to talk about that first of all. A lot of times when people buy dry glazes, they'll add bentonite or gum. I don't with these. These are really, really nice. So here comes 5 pints of water. And this bucket is clean. I've got a nice little recessed bucket table, which is nice. Where was I at? 3? And a 4. And 5. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this now. I'm back. Okay, this is kind of nice. This is a really nice eco-friendly bag. If you want to use just part of this, you can. It is resealable with these little, it's like a giant bag of coffee. But this will allow you to store this, but I usually mix mine up 5 at a time. Another thing I will tell you, just if you're starting this, I like to buy at least 10 pounds to start off with if I'm getting into establishing a dipping glaze in my studio. For example, with the Amber Topaz, I bought 2 5-pound bags and I'm going to mix up all 10 pounds today. Then I've got a full 5-gallon bucket of glaze. As I need more glaze, I will go and buy 5 pounds at a time. And you know, when it's like halfway full and it's harder to dip larger pieces, then I'll go back and just kind of recharge this bucket with 5 pounds dry at a time. That really works well, and it's completely what I do in the studio. So, now's the time when I would dump the powder in, so here comes the mask. So I'm not going to talk to you with my mask on. Here it comes. My mask fits really well. Can you hear it? So we've allowed the powder to slake down a little bit. And what I did was when I poured it in from the bag, which is now empty, I tried to distribute it all throughout the water so that it's not in a big mountain or a big pile inside there. What we want is for the water to absorb into all that powder, and that's what I mean when I say slaking. So once that's all absorbed, then you can go ahead and stir it. So I've got a wooden stick. It's a ruler. And I'm gonna go ahead and stir that. I'm pulling the ruler all the way across the bottom and across around the sides and stirring well. These materials are very heavy. The parts of glaze that are in the powder are really heavy. There's some metal, some silica, things that are heavy. So they tend to go right to the bottom, and we don't have them in any kind of suspension with dry glazes. So there's not gum or bentonite, things to keep them stirred. Like when you get a pint of Mayco glaze, it is all stirred up. You got to give it a little shake, a little stir with your brush, and it's ready to go. These powdered glazes aren't like that. They will separate and go to the bottom when you leave them in your studio for a few days. But that's okay because they're really easy to stir back up, and that is one of the things I think that is really special about Mayco's dry glazes. They do not dry in a big hard pancake in the bottom of the bucket. The reason is they have lovely small particle size, and the particle size is very uniform as well. So it makes the glazes really special. They are very, very easy to work with. If you're not used to working with dry glazes, you'll really like these. The way that you can make a problem for yourself is if you add too much water. Once you add too much water to this, you can get the glazes to pancake and smush out, be hard in the bottom, and then you're sitting here trying to stir them. So try not to add too much water, and as I'm telling you this, it's a little bit difficult to translate that into what you're doing in the studio. The way I would do it is start with the 1 pint per pound ratio, and then I'm going to show you something. You can't see inside my bucket, but I am going to show you something. I really like this consistency. Here I go. I'm going to dip my hand in it. Can you see it? See how it's dripping? That's a really potterly test. It's the finger test. But you don't want it much more liquidy than that. You don't want it much thicker than that too. A pint per pound is a really good way to start that. So now, when you come into the studio, say I stirred this up and then I left for the weekend, and then I come back and there will be a water head on top of that. There'll be water on top and the mixture at the bottom. So you always have to re-stir this. You re-stir this really frequently. I even re-stir in between dips, okay? So let's talk about dipping.